All right, this demo I call Crossing Thresholds, and the idea for the demo was provided to me by Dr. Richard Feely, who's an ocean acidification expert here at NOAA's Pacific Marine Environmental Lab in Seattle. Dr. Feely came up with this idea of a tipping glass with a liquid in it to help people understand how ocean acidification can still be a problem for organisms that live in the highly dynamic coastal ecosystem. Coastal environments experience wide fluctuations in seawater chemistry on hourly, daily, seasonal, even decadal cycles. There's a lot of variability. So sometimes, and these organisms, especially the intertidal ones, have evolved in this environment, and they are in fact able to cope with quite a lot of fluctuation. So people are having trouble understanding why just a small background decline in pH was causing trouble for organisms that you would expect to be very adaptable. And I think this demonstration really gets the point across very well, that the reason ocean acidification is kind of pushing these organisms past their comfort zone is because the pH decline that's caused by humans' use of fossil fuels and the carbon dioxide that we are putting into the atmosphere and the ocean that is driving ocean acidification, that decline in pH is actually additive. It's in addition to the pH swings that organisms are already experiencing as part of their natural coastal environment. And I think the long title for this demonstration is Crossing Thresholds, What Root Beer Can Teach Us About Ocean Acidification. And that's because after much trial and error, I discovered that warm root beer is the perfect substance for this demonstration. Now, warm root beer, carefully you open the can. By the way, I use regular root beer, not diet. I've never tried diet. I don't know if it would work as well. Can't really say that why it wouldn't work, but regular root beer tastes better. All right, so you carefully pour the root beer into a clear cup, about 2/3 full, carefully so that you don't cause a lot of foaming. You want to save the carbon dioxide that's dissolved in the soda for the demonstration. So first, Dr. Feely, he showed me that you tell people that the cup and the tipping cup represents the dynamic coastal environment that can experience big changes in pH, sometimes on the order of an entire pH unit over a daily cycle, depending on lots of things, biological and oceanographic factors. So even though there's a lot of variability and the cup is tipping back and forth, things are okay because the root beer is staying inside the cup. All right, but now, and this is where it gets hard to do with just one person. So when you're doing this, I suggest you get a volunteer. Now, I have here a container of fresh ice, fresh from the freezer. That's important because what you want to have happen in this demonstration is when you put a couple of ice cubes in this, you want a big foamy root beer head to happen. And that just doesn't seem to work very well when the ice is melted and slippery. That's because you need to have that microscopic roughness on the surface of the ice to nucleate the foam. It nucleates the formation of carbon dioxide bubbles and brings them out of solution. So this ice should still feel slightly sticky. I have to tell you that my ice is not perfect, so cross your fingers. Now you're going to take 2 or 3 ice cubes. You don't want to use so many that you're going to overflow the cup just by putting in the ice. But as you tip the cup back and forth, say to your audience, let's let this ice represent humans' use of fossil fuels. And then you drop it in, and hopefully, okay, you get a big foamy head. I'm going to come close so you can see. The foaming is already dying down, but you get a big foaming head, and as that foam happens, keep tipping the cup so that your foam spills over the edge of the cup. And you can say that because of humans' use of fossil fuels, there's an extra burden of carbon dioxide at the surface of the ocean. And that extra amount of carbon dioxide, on top of what's already naturally present in these dynamic coastal environments, is what's really tipping, pushing all the organisms out of their comfort zones. So organisms, plants and animals that can take quite a bit of fluctuation, can tolerate that fluctuation as long as it stays within sort of the historic levels that they've evolved to tolerate. But when an additional amount of CO2 comes in and you have these spikes, these are the bad days. And now you have more bad days, and they happen, they're worse than they used to be, and they happen more frequently. So ocean acidification is really pushing vulnerable coastal organisms over the threshold. And there's a lot of evidence for this happening now along the California Current on the West Coast. There's a great paper you can read that was published by the lead author is Gruber, G-R-U-B-E-R, published in 2012 in Science Magazine. And it explains what's been happening on the west coast of North America and what is likely to keep happening or to happen if we keep burning fossil fuels. And sadly, by 2050, 20 to 30 years from now, most of the surface layer of the West Coast, Northern California Current is going to be unfavorable to shell-forming organisms. The water will be corrosive to the calcium carbonate shells by 2050 at the current rate of carbon dioxide emissions. And that's because we're putting more and more and more CO2 in, and we're just overflowing the cup more and more often. And we're soon going to reach a point where the cup is overflowing all of the time. So that's it for this demo, and I encourage you to download the PDF. I wrote up a protocol for this demonstration with some background information and a narrative, and also review and download and use the PowerPoint slides that have also been made available on this website. Thank you.